That was the CBS News Vice President debate between Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. Welcome back to our Black Star Network coverage. Joining me for our post-discussion, Lauren Victoria Burke, Black Press USA, Monique Presley, attorney here in D.C., Rebecca Carruthers, Vice President of Fair Election Center, Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University, Dr. Nola Haynes, foreign policy expert, Georgetown, Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor to the EPA. We have, of course, the DEI disruptor, Randy Bryant. We got a Black Republican right now. He's on the outs. They have kicked him out. Eugene Craig. Winnie Sion, she's with Politicking. So glad to have everybody here. All right, I'm just going to go around, get initial thoughts. I hate the who won, who lost, but just let's just your assessment, what you heard tonight. Mustafa, you first.
I mean, I heard a lot of tap dancing. You know, James Baldwin once said that I can't believe what you say because I see what you do. You saw J.D. Vance trying to normalize very destructive policies, everything from a woman's right to choose to what's happening with the climate crisis, especially in relationship to what's going on with the hurricane right now, and not actually honestly answering people about what the former president's policies were. You know, they played a role in some of the things that we see currently going on right now, both inside of our country and across, you know, and also just whitewashing the things that are going on in relationship to gun violence and not really zeroing in on what needs to happen. So there was a number of opportunities to actually help the American people to have a better understanding of what opportunity looks like and transformation looks like, and I think that it was missed. There was a lot of cordiality that was there, but the one thing that I did not hear is about how you're going to help Black folks. What is exactly are some of these policies that are needed to actually help our communities to heal? Now, I know that that's not always what is going to happen in this space, but I think that there were opportunities to at least talk about vulnerable communities so that all the folks, whether you're Black or brown or indigenous or lower wealth, that you know that you're seen and heard. And I think there was an opportunity to do that, and I did not hear that.
Lauren?
Yeah, this is one of the worst and stupidest debates I've seen in terms of moderation and questions, okay? We're looking at a situation now where our democracy is on the line. We have a lunatic running for president, right? A guy that just said that he wanted a day of violence just less than 72 hours ago. Today he said something racist about the Congo. And these two people at CBS don't bring any of that up, nothing. None of that comes up. To say that there was no Black question is a vast understatement. Obviously, the job of J.D. Vance was to look like a normal human being because he's a right-wing lunatic. So he needs to look like a normal guy, like the dude next door, which of course he's not. So his abortion answer was laughable. It was crazy laughable. Of course, the constant attacks on the vice president because he wants that to play over and over again, which is why these people don't want any fact-checking. Because if you fact-check these people, it's game over. Their entire strategy is to lie and lie and lie on the air and amplify it, have millions of people see it, and just do that over and over again. And of course, you win in that environment. For CBS not to have fact-checking is an absolute disgrace and an embarrassment to journalism. It is not journalism. It's nonsense. You're amplifying a liar, and you're rewarding these liars when they come back again on your air again and again and again.
Nola.
Okay, so amen. You just preached the whole sermon just now. Honestly, first of all, J.D. Vance did not answer one question. Not one question. He is a slick oil salesman, and Tim Walz is not. Tim Walz is honest. He's earnest, and he was up against a very slippery character, and that's what I saw. It wasn't about, oh, J.D. Vance did better on the foreign policy questions or he's winning. That is not what I saw. I saw someone who did not answer one question, who made everything about the vice president, can I clarify, who is not the president. I mean, listen, if you want to manifest vice president to be POTUS, okay. I'm with that. If you want to manifest her being a president, she is not the president. And that man kept saying over and over and over, Harris policies, Harris, Harris, Harris. She is not the president.
I wondered if you knew how the government works.
Exactly.
Like,
It was insane.
Right.
It was insane. But it lands on certain people. It lands. They knew what they were doing in terms of talking to certain demographics, right? Because you can walk away saying, well, Harris didn't do this, Harris didn't do that. Well, no, she didn't, because she's not the president yet. So I saw someone who lied the entire time, and I saw Tim Walz, who took a minute to try and catch up to this man who he's not used to wheeling and dealing with. And once he got his rhythm, once he understood, what was going on, I think he wound up doing a great job, and I think he did a great close. But J.D. Vance is not normal. That man is extreme to the extremist end. I cannot punctuate that even further. And tonight, like what Lauren said about trying to normalize him, the way that they did that was by him not answering a question, by him giving these broad statements as if Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are normal Americans who just want to work for the American people. Lies.
Eugene.
So look, I think that we got a Midwestern debate tonight. Both of them play to their basis, or what they're chasing, the magical Midwestern-esque, the Pennsylvania-esque white voter. J.D. Vance played to the Trump strategy of, hey, if we could just get one more vote out of every one of these Pennsylvania counties or Iowa counties, we can win this election, and charging deep MAGA. Everything from, we're going to talk about Facebook censorship, instead of real issues. Literally every cultural right-wing red meat issue, J.D. Vance made sure he gave it some level of airtime.
Facts.
Tim Walz decided, Tim Walz came across Tim Walz does as a Midwestern white guy, and they're playing up to that white male vote. And I think that's the reason why he wasn't swinging the way we probably needed him to swing. My question and concern is, how does the party that is anti-DEI and the candidate that despises DEI end up with a vice president on national TV with a full face beat and eyeliner?
You said a beat, not a full face beat.
Rebecca.
So you're right, it was very Midwestern. It was tuna casserole versus mom spaghetti, right? Neither was what I wanted to.
It wasn't no damn seasoning on that stage. Well, go ahead.
But they weren't inviting me to dinner. I wasn't the guest tonight. I was the guest in the presidential debate that happened last month. But what's also interesting, I went to White People Twitter. It's a group on Reddit, and I was
White people Twitter. Oh my God,
it's
that shit
the
is
White
funny.
People Twitter on Reddit. And I was literally reading, like, what are the white people saying about this? This is clearly targeted towards you. It was themes of, oh, this is very polite. It's very civil. Oh, we like the tone of this debate. So lots of tone policing. So for white people watching tonight's debate, they love this. But also for white people who watch tonight's debate, they also don't like people who are slick. They don't like people who are condescending. They don't like people who are lying and playing in their faces. And we saw one candidate slick, lying, condescending, playing in people's faces. And then we saw another guy turning red in the face and indignant, right? So, white people, the ball's on your court. What are you going to do?
Randy.
Yeah, it was very tuna casserole. It was very polite. I kept waiting for Walz to come out like swinging. But I do think he did a very good job of appealing to his audience. He talked very eloquently about health care. And those are the people who are watching, and how he was going to obliterate, how the Republicans would obliterate what they're having now if you have pre-existing conditions. I thought he did a great job of talking about gun control. And he did a really fine job of asking questions to the American people. He said, do you want your schools to look like this? Do you want these issues in healthcare? Is this the America we're trying to build? Is essentially the question he kept throwing back to them, and he kept using the word you. So whereas, Vance kind of separated himself and said the American people, I thought Walz was brilliant in that he said you. So I think that he didn't, Walz, I don't know why my blackness in me wants to put that T in that name. Walz, I apologize. That's just my blackness, honey. Walz did a really good job of, I believe, appealing to people in the pleasantness. Of course, I would have loved for him to swing a little harder, but since he was going to keep that tenor, he still did, I believe, what he needed to do.
And also on democracy, I think he did a good job on democracy.
Excellent, an excellent job on that. And bringing up the points, I mean, attacking the record of Trump. And that January 6th ending I thought was excellent, and saying Mike Pence isn't here, I thought was good. And then when he said we're not pro-abortion, we are pro-women, that was to me the best line of the night. We're pro-women, because that's who we're trying to get, those white women to change and say we are for you. So yeah, I was overall, if we were going to play nice, he sipped the tea appropriately.
Great part.
Yeah, man, I think we've all established it. Shout out to CBS for a brilliant example of sane washing, a full-bred nut. Oh yeah, I mean, one of my best students, he's now a professor over at American School of Law, Angie Porter's from Rochester, Minnesota, and she told me about Minnesota Nights. I went out there and spoke at the Freedom Fund for them in Rochester, and I saw it up close. I saw it again tonight. I know he's not from Minnesota, but that shit right there was embarrassing. First of all, if I'm Kamala Harris tonight after saying, okay, you made it through, I'm saying, why you let that man call me a drug dealer for an hour and a half and not slap him around? So, I mean, you let that fool talk shit. It took 10 rounds of questions, and you shouted it rolling at the end. He went for debate. Finally, for him to punch him around that question of, you didn't say whether you would agree with the election. Of course, Junior Varsity Vance was talking to one man. He's talking to Donald Trump. And that's my man, it's no problem. All them Silicon Valley billionaires, his master, Peter Thiel and them, they just waiting. Y'all win the election, we'll trigger the 25th Amendment, and you're looking at the President of the United States if they get their way, as far as I'm concerned. And he did what needed to happen. Only other thing I would say is that the Project 2025 was good. He got that in. He talked a little bit about that. But that playbook, he could have said the N-word every answer. Immigrants, illegal aliens.
Yes.
I don't care about the law. He did exactly what you say, Eugene. He's talking to his base, and so now we just got to make sure they don't try to steal this election. You'll probably have Greg Palestone between now and the election. His new documentary is a hell of a thing now. They have heard so many voters. You covered that story. Three-quarters of a million voters in Georgia alone. They are setting this up. And so that was some bullshit. Wait.
So they were calling this the Rust Belt rivalry. I thought it was the Rust Belt revisionist history. I mean, I didn't hear a lot of truths tonight, unfortunately, and as a Haitian American, quite frankly, I was disgusted with the sidestepping of the question about Haitian immigrants. I started hearing about fentanyl, things that had nothing to do with the xenophobia that have been mudslinging for weeks now, really putting real-life people in danger. And so I think we have to remember the person we're dealing with, as many of y'all have said, is not a normal person. This is someone that would put people's lives in danger and then deny it and say that there was a peaceful transition of power on January 6th. I mean, we heard a lot of things that were just frankly untrue. And I think as the American people, we have to hold those parties accountable.
I love this debate. I mean, I just thought it was fantastic. I thought it accomplished exactly what it was supposed to do. It wasn't for me, so I didn't go into it expecting to be impressed. I don't, in general, look at these debates and want it to be boom, pound, boom, the way, like, when you watch, Batman, da-na-na-na-na.
Yeah, that was a straight-ass Batman right there.
I'm doing the old Batman. I'm aging myself, because when I think Batman, I think da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Adam West.
Yes.
Same.
And so, boom. Yeah, and so there were a couple of those, but unnecessary, because this was for people who, as Rebecca said, and I'm watching the same thing on my chat, I'm watching him get called slick. I tweeted about it because, and it's not just the makeup, shame on you, Eugene. It's the whole young guy just showed up on the scene, don't know shit, ain't from shit, switches up on everything, kissing Donald Trump's butt. I'm from Texas. We don't like that. The black folks don't like that. The white folks don't like that. The brown folks don't like that. We universally don't like slick. Yeah. It's not what we do. Right. The voters who were watching tonight, who also watched the presidential debate, because they're going to look at the numbers and see that there's nobody who was extra interested tonight who didn't watch the first round. So we watched the varsity round, and the person who's leading the ticket did what she had to do. She punched way above class. Like, she went up there and knockout, 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 knockout. And everybody's like, okay, she's in charge. Then here came the JV round, and they don't necessarily know a lot. Like, the foreign policy answers, universally horrible, right? Governor Walz decent person, looks you straight in the eyes, says exactly what's true, appeal to conservatives with the McCain thumbs up, with the farmers, with the I know how to govern, I know how to lead, I'm still learning the rest of this stuff, I'm gonna tell you the truth. And then we got Slick Rick. And he don't know nothing, and he lies the whole time, and he talks fast. And for people inside the Beltway, some of us get impressed by that. But if you look at these people who are talking, who are voters, that's not true. And I don't think that he really stands for us. And he doesn't believe that. And so I understand my wrap up, because Roland's looking at me crazy. My wrap up is we might have wanted more fisticuffs, but we decided at the last debate I decided 4 years ago. We who were thinking about it decided at the last debate. What I love about this is out of the 4 people in this election, there is one leader who is cream at the top, and everybody else is tearing under her, and her running mate is under her. And then there's J.D. Vance, because complete sentences. And then there's the guy under him who tonight was doing tampon Tim and all caps and tweeting about things that don't have nothing to do with the debate. I can tell by the way he's tweeting what he thought about his running mate's performance, and I agree with him.
So we're gonna do a quick break. We gotta fix an audio issue, and then I'll give my thoughts when we come right back.
Yes.
You're watching the Black Star Network's post-debate coverage of the vice presidential debate between Senator J.D. Vance and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. We'll be right back.
Told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished? There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Bob and I both voted for Donald Trump.
I voted for him twice. I won't vote for him again. January 6th was a wake-up call for me.
Donald Trump divides people. We've already seen what he has to bring.
He didn't do anything to help us. Kamala Harris, she cares about the American people. I think she's got the wherewithal to make a difference. I've never voted for a Democrat.
Yes, we're both lifelong Republicans.
The choice is very simple.
I'm voting for Kamala.
I am voting for Kamala Harris.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
All right, folks, welcome back to our Black Star Network post-debate coverage. So here are my thoughts. Walz starts very shaky. He was very nervous. J.D. Vance, Senator J.D. Vance is a smooth liar. And when you have someone who lies that smoothly, he can sound convincing when he's lying. And so I thought, even though initially CBS said they were not going to fact check, I think Margaret Brennan and Nora O'Donnell was like, y'all ain't gonna make us look like some goddamn fools. And so so the fact checking was good. And I appreciate when somebody had the common sense to turn the damn microphones off. They're like, oh, you're not listening to us? Right, kill the damn microphone. So, of course, trash ass Megyn Kelly didn't like it, but then again, she also thinks Santa's white. So what jumped out at me is, I mean, Monica's right, Eugenia's right, in that if you look at audience, Tim Walz isn't, we normally look at a vice presidential pick as being the attack dog for the candidate. Sure. But that's not the candidate she picked. She purposely picked somebody who was an attack dog. She could have gone with a Josh Shapiro, the Pennsylvania governor. She could have gone with Brashear, the governor of Kentucky. She could have gone with Roy Cooper, governor of North Carolina. But I think wanting to have a different appeal, which is why she went with Governor Tim Walz. That's what it was about tonight. He wasn't going to say lie. He wasn't going to attack him. Where I thought what drove me crazy, not one time did Governor Walz say, Senator, you're in the United States Senate. Right. You could have proposed this. Right. You could have pushed this. I mean, the conversation tonight was as if he wasn't even an elected member of Congress. So I was sitting there like, okay, you take that opportunity to say that. So I thought that was a miss on his part. Where I think Walz was very strong, first part of the debate, was on the reproductive rights issue. That's when he sort of got his sea legs. I would say to him, dude, just simply say, I misspoke on the damn Tiananmen Square thing. Right. That long-ass, winding-ass answer, and you like, look, stick and move. That's all you got. Look, if you screwed up, stick and move and get out of it. Now, the strongest part to me for Walz tonight, absolutely, was on January 6th. Now, I think when they go back and look at it, they're gonna tell J.D. Vance, dude, what the hell? They gave your ass an out and you didn't take it. Because he gave the first answer, Walz, then they said, Senator, would you like to respond? And I'm sitting there going, no, do not respond. Tell them, no, thank you. No, his ass took the bait. And then that's when Walz was able to go. He's like, like you can't even say? Yeah. To me, that was a total screw up there. You're right, Greg. Walz was talking to one person. As long as Donald Trump is satisfied, is happy, that's where you have it. So I don't think, I think probably what's going to happen is you're going to see a bunch of media people are going to say, oh, J.D. Vance won because, again, J.D. Vance was smooth with the line. That's what you saw going on right there. But again, Walz was not going to attack him because Walz's strategy tonight was not to focus on Vance. If you look at what Walz kept doing, he kept bringing it back to Trump. Yep. He wasn't going to make it about Vance. Kind of like, okay, yeah, we know you're crazy. Cat Lady, I think, came up one time tonight or something along those lines. So there were so many openings where he could have literally attacked Vance, but he chose not to. So I don't think, again, looking back, if I go back to 2012 when Obama sucked in the first debate, and then Biden needed to come out and just destroy Paul Ryan, which he did. I just think this is a whole different deal here. And so did Walz lose? No. Did Vance lose? No. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. And so now you move on to October 2nd between now and November 5th, and then what do these other two candidates do? I think that is simply where that's where we go from now. But I certainly do think, though, that for the Harris-Walz campaign, I do think for them, ramping up more of a media strategy over the next 35 days will be helpful to them, even if it's non-traditional outlets, because they're able to get their message out. The one thing that Vance has been very good at, he's done a lot more media than anyone else, and so they're constantly in the news cycle. There have been stretches where Walz has disappeared. Yeah. And so to me, they need to make sure that they're constantly, whatever's happening every single day, whether it's rallies, but whether it's also interviews, to me, that's going to be critical. What do y'all see moving forward? Anybody can jump in.
Vance is in the media because he is so good at just repeating the same nonsense on immigration against the vice president over and over again. And one of the disappointments for me tonight was that Walz knows coming into this debate that he's going to say these things about immigration again and again, which he's been saying for a month. He's been saying when he's right,
it was a total screw up.
It's kind of like
on the Haitian immigrant deal. What he quoted was he said immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, they're here legally. And so again, to me, where the miss was, he didn't mention Haitian. And again, what I would have done was right to the moderator do it, but I would have mentioned these Haitian immigrants are. This is where he should have said, Senator, these Haitian immigrants, they're your constituents.
No question.
They're in your state.
Yeah, exactly.
They are
Exactly.
working hard. Go talk to the CEOs of the companies in your state and ask them how these workers are. And then that's what he could have said. And I'm sure the 400,000 Haitians in Florida really don't appreciate what you had to say about Haitian immigrants.
But what you said about the Senate.
That was a moment to bring in Florida, mention them 400,000, and then come back into this here.
What you said about the Senate, though, Walz kind of whiffs on. He hit him a little bit, but then didn't come back and hit him again. There was a Senate deal by Republicans.
So,
Trump killed it.
I actually thought he mentioned that, but I actually thought he was going to say, "You're a senator."
Right.
Why didn't you? I mean, I did thought that was going to happen.
Exactly. Not just a senator in favor of the deal.
Right. But Roland, there's a reason why governors usually don't make the presidential ticket. And tonight we saw why.
He was a member of Congress.
He was a member of Congress, but right now he's a governor. As many governors who want to lead this country, they don't know how the campaign is if they're going to lead this country. They want to stay in that pocket, and to be able to be versatile and to talk about the 400,000 Haitian Americans in Florida, knowing that U.S. Senate race right now is very close.
Governors become presidents.
But he actually did it. Rebecca, he actually did it. He actually went local. He actually went local in Ohio about 4 different times. 4 different times he was like, so for instance, the 2,000 jobs in whatever town he mentioned. He actually did it, but I just thought that, and I get it. He's not going to be in a dogfight, but I thought there were some moments there when he could have thrown at least a baby punch.
See, Roland, what you're talking about is strength, and which I come from a perspective where I would have loved to see that. Monique, I know you said you like the folks. See, they did what they needed to do. But see, the American people, we're not the only audience tonight.
Yeah. Right.
We are living in a very, very dangerous world right now. She was watching. Putin was watching, Kim Jong-un was watching. There were a lot of other people watching tonight. And so you're watching the number 2, and you're watching how he's handling this debate over a known liar, over a known snake oil salesman. How are you going to handle him? How are you going to sit in the same rooms, with the Putin and the Xi's? Yep. And here's the interesting thing. Tim Walz, as a governor, has stood up to these people.
Yeah.
He has put forth legislation in his state that said, no, Xi, you are wrong about human rights. No, Putin, you are wrong about Ukraine. I wanted to see that person tonight. Yes, VP Harris showed up, honey, and did everything that she needed to do. And I wanted to see a little bit more strength and a little bit more of that knockout power for all the things that were mentioned here. The points that should have been made about Haitians should have been stronger. There were at least 3 areas that should have been stronger. And by them opening with foreign policy, the fact that what we are not talking about is how the Trump administration pulled out of JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal that destabilized the region. The fact that that is not the #1 thing we are talking about tonight irritates me.
And of course it did. Of course that came up.
It came up.
Right, I got you.
Talking about it.
I got you.
Americans are thoroughly ignorant when it comes to foreign policy.
I understand.
The things that you
You're absolutely
wanted,
right.
Dr. Nola,
You're
I
absolutely
think
right.
it's really great that they didn't happen. Like, I understand the why that you would want to see that, and we know that he has that. But we are in such an unknown, unfortunately, territory with this woman leading this ticket that I think that her coming out as the strongest person on foreign policy, the most knowledgeable on foreign policy, the puncher, and I want to give him credit that it was strategic, but even if it wasn't, I'm gonna give him credit like it was strategic, because he really was putting her name forward, and that's the VP job, right? The other guy, he seemed like he was confused about the job. Like, every time he said, Kamala Harris has been in, and she could have been doing this all the time, I'm like, to me, look like you have no idea what the job is, because Americans, I'm a quote Kendrick, hey Drake, they're not dumb. Americans know that the vice president does not make policy.
Well, hold on. No. Right, there you go. No. Knowledgeable Americans know that. He wasn't talking to them. He was talking to them clueless ass people, Mustafa. The people who believed the lie the entire time.
Right, and they want to continue to believe that. I think that we have to be careful of overcomplicating this, right? So all the people that I work with, what they know about the vice president is that if the president, for whatever reason, passes away, then this is the individual who then takes over. Yes. So the question becomes, tonight, when you saw these two individuals, who gave you the comfort to know that if something tragic happens, and we know we live in a very violent society, we've seen some of the things that have played out, who is it who could step up and lead? And, you know, folks are going to have to make the decision for themselves.
Keep it real. Vance did a good job of acting out.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Right.
You know, did Walz look like more of a leader?
But I think, wait. So I think we got to keep something in perspective.
Like more of a leader.
But we got to keep something in perspective here, right? This is technically Governor Walz's second major full focus on him national television moment. And if I'm Team Harris, and I know that, hey, this debate is our fight for the white voter, I actually probably want him to less strength, remind them you're the guy that's going to be out there for Nebraska football or Ohio State football or Penn State football. If they branded him as this borderline average Joe personality, football coach, come kiss my baby. That you have an hour and a half of presenting him to the world. That if you have an hour, if you have Donald Trump was right. Well, Alabama versus but I would say this. I will proffer you this. You will see Saul Trump at a Bama Georgia game. Yeah. But that combination of Ohio State, a Michigan State, a Penn State, that Pennsylvania voter, that Michigan, Kentucky voter, those are the voters that they're going for that are quote unquote their swing voters right now.
What was the first question in this 10-round set of questions tonight? About the longshoreman strike. Yep. Understand that is going to have an outsized impact, like you said before, Roland. Yeah. And the fact that 200 missiles hit Israel today.
This time tomorrow, we're not going to be talking about debate.
We cannot say that we're not doing politics the same, but then say we need to do politics the same. Because baking the apple pie, to talk about the kind of casseroles we're baking and shucks, oh, geely, wow, golly, wow.
Yeah.
If we're not in a normal political time, then we're not in a normal political time.
But I think that this was tone. It was, again, it was tone. That is, you pick a guy who supportive of the VP, folksy charm, down-home guy, I love guns, I got my dog, all this sort of stuff along those lines. So he did what he was supposed to do. Again, the problem, and again, I think we're all looking at it, you're absolutely right. From a debate standpoint, debates are television performances. Yes. So, right, and so the reality is J.D. Vance overall in terms of smooth talking, polished, how he answered the questions, people overlooked the fact that he was lying. And I think what's going to happen is, I think in the next 4 to 6 hours, and then definitely tomorrow, you're going to see tons of fact checks. You're going to see tons of breakdown on how much he lied, stuff along those lines. You're not necessarily going to have the same large audience, but the other piece is here. You also do no harm. Yep. And that's really where your goal here. Did Walz do no harm? He didn't do any harm. Right. Did Vance do no harm? He didn't do any harm. That's true. But I will go back to the two issues that came out that were Walz's strongest were the two issues that Democrats are focused on. Reproductive rights and January 6th. And the fact that J.D. Vance would not say that Donald Trump lost the election and gave Walz the opening to hammer him on that. And then Walz, well, can't we just move on? I'm focused on the future. And then Walz brought that shit right back, and he tried to, no, I'm all about the future. No, but you can't even, and he brought the cops up. I think that's going to be the exchange, Randy, that you're going to hear more about tomorrow, that J.D. Vance could not stand there and say, yes, he lost the election, and then we should move on. That's where, and again, I go, if they replay it, they gave him an out, and his dumb ass took the bait and he ran with it. And again, I think that was Walz's strongest moment, and I think that's where you saw him. You literally saw him. Like, did this fool just like?
Yeah.
And that was the moment. Where I think. So I think out of everything, that's going to be a central thing to focus on. Randy, then
That's
Whitney.
absolutely going to be a central thing, and it should be. If they're smart, they should focus on that, because what I will say about all Americans, regardless of race, gender, geographic location, they're tired. You know, it's been chaotic. You know, being with Trump was chaotic. And that whole presidency. And then we were embarrassed. It was an international embarrassment to democracy, January 6th was. And so if he's not decrying it, if Vance won't say it was wrong, or we made a mistake, or he's right in it. So no one wants to relive that. We don't want to go through that again. And I think one way that the Republicans are, the tool they use is fear, white fear. And I think that they are scared of a lot of things, but they're also scared of that. They chaos and looking bad. They have this pride that they have. So I think they will focus on that in the next couple of days, and they should. They absolutely should.
Outside of January 6th, I thought that Walz was extremely strong on the ACA. That was the closest he got by calling him a liar to his face.
Right.
Yes.
He was very, very cognizant of the fact that he tried to actively repeal Obamacare or ACA, whatever you want to call it, continually. That was his entire mission of his presidency, was to try to uproot that entire policy. Fortunately for a lot of Americans, he failed. But that was his mission, and that's one of the things that he ran his whole campaign upon. So I think it's really important that Walz actually started to back him down a little bit against that. Again, we didn't see him go hard like we would have wanted to, but he did get the closest to getting hard at that particular point.
You heard Walz bring up Amber Thurman, and then you heard J.D. Vance say, you know, Amber Thurman should be alive. Go to my iPad. Ben Crump is the attorney for the family of Amber Thurman. They released this statement here. Tonight, we commend Governor Tim Walz for telling Amber's story and for his unwavering commitment to defending women's reproductive rights. Amber's tragic death was a direct result of Georgia's archaic and dangerously restrictive abortion laws, which denied her the life-saving care she so desperately needed. We strongly condemn the Republican platform that seeks to further restrict women's access to necessary health care under the false guise of protection. We are grieving an unimaginable loss that no family should have to endure. We must continue to fight against laws that put women's lives at risk, and we are grateful to leaders like Governor Walz who advocate for common sense laws while exhibiting such compassion. The fight for justice for Amber is a fight for every woman's right to make decisions about her own body and access the medical care she needs. We will not stop until these dangerous laws are repealed and no more lives are lost. Until then, we must keep saying her name, Amber Thurman.
Yeah, question about that in that vein, right quick, just for everybody, just very quickly. On that line of questioning, and there were two when it came out, and maybe, like you said, you think, as you said, Roland, this will age well, or will this provide fodder? Because there was a lot of nuance, I would say that. So, for example, on child care, when he said, for example, basically what J.D. Vance said is, I want your Mima and Nana to do this, and we're going to subsidize him. The answers were there. But on this issue, Project 2025, what we were talking about before the debate, when he said national registry, it reminds me of that commercial when the Lincoln Project did, where the cop stops the man and his daughter, and where y'all going, and then get out the car. That national, seriously, and when you read Project 2025, it's absolutely it. That national registry, it's exactly it. Freedom papers, no question. We're gonna stop y'all from crossing straight lines and put your ass in jail. So maybe, does this age better with time? And after this is over, as it gets dissected, there's a lot of commercials that can be made about that.
Well, Vance did a good job when it came to abortion. He did a really good job at hiding his true views on abortion. On the Obamacare issue, there was a line that he said that Trump saved Obamacare. You want to talk about CBS not fact-checking meaning something, right? That was a crazy-ass statement. The two moments in the debate where we saw deep MAGA, deep MAGA, was Jan 6 and ACA. Because the Jan 6 flipped it, basically took the veil off of Vance, because he was looking normal there for the first 40 minutes, and then we get to Jan 6, and he can't hide it. He can't hide it. He couldn't help himself.
On how they would protect the people with pre-existing conditions, his answer ultimately was we already have protections.
Right.
So to me, the clips are rich. So
And I love
when
this.
people
Well,
are
no. Trump actually strengthened it, and he
When
actually
people are saying he did
tightened
no
it, and he
harm,
actually
I
made it better.
I'm not sure that there's do no harm. And I just want to read this one thing on Twitter because it goes to the point that I feel like there are a lot of women indignant about tonight, me included. From Best Calb, Grudge Report. See, comes up. I am an undecided voter. Do I go with the slick eyeliner man who recites his slogans and shouts over women until they have to cut his mic, or the nice man who wants to give us health care? She's got about 10,000 retweets on that right now. There are a lot of people.
Type that?
No. But
who
Best Calb.
Was it you brought up eyeliner?
No,
Did you bring up eyeliner? That was your ass. That was your burner account.
But people are more upset about what happened. That was his one like pure asshole flare up, where we had two women moderators. And he had no respect for process, no respect for rules, no respect for the fact that they were telling him repeatedly to stop talking. They had to cut off his mic, and he kept talking. And then, even though it was Nora's turn, her sister had to step in and say, no, I said shut up, and then turn back. And all of these people on Twitter are talking about it. And if you look at, again, what Elon is talking about, where he's retweeting Don's crazy rant, where he, in all caps, is saying, it's well known that I would veto anything that he's talking about Rose, saying he would veto. And so I think
everybody know his ass lying.
But I lead with their upset because they are concerned in ways that we are not. And I like
I do want to say this here. So you kept hearing, it was just fascinating to keep hearing the line. Oh my God, we've lost manufacturing. I'm sitting there going, is this dude on crack? Go to my iPad. This is literally, y'all, American investing in manufacturing. Okay, do y'all see where the arrow is pointing?
Yep.
Yeah. That's when Trump ass left.
Yes.
How the hell can you? Even on the he kept coming back with stuff with the energy, and I'm like, dude. What are you talking about? Like this, they really believe in their minds that manufacturing down when it's up. They believe that we are producing less energy today. That's a lie. And even Walz was like, no, it's more. I mean, it was literally like, let me just throw as many lies as possible, and surely y'all not gonna fact check these lies. Hold on one second, Mustafa.
Well, it's about molding perception. So if you continue to say the same thing over and over and over again, most Americans just naturally believe it because they're like, well, I heard it on X, or not X, let me use something else. I heard it wherever. So that's the dynamic that's going on. I think Governor Walz had additional opportunities to actually bring back the fact that whether you want to talk about the investments that the Biden-Harris administration has made around these new clean economy jobs, that those are going up. But there are also jobs that are going up in relationship to other forms of manufacturing that are out there. And then I would have anchored it with actually talking about examples in the various states of how it's helping to make change happen. So it's about the building that needs to happen. I think Governor Walz did a good job. I think he looked very presidential. If the moment ever came for that, he definitely did what he was supposed to do as the vice president. But, you know, there are just these people want to be seen. When I talk to people across the country, they want to know that they're actually seen from these people. And I think that Governor Walz did a better job of actually hitting the things that people are asking for. He brought his daughter into the conversation and talked about in relationship to gun violence. He talked about Amber. So Vance didn't make anyone to be seen whom is still trying to make a decision about their vote.
His mom.
No,
he was trying to apologize for throwing him under the bus.
Still the low-class white folks.
Yeah.
He kept making references.
He was trying.
That would communicate to that.
Yes.
Who, Vance? Well, remember telling my mama when we grow up, we want food stamps and two blue-collar gyms.
He was trying to appear human.
And it was.
Let me just.
Vance, I
this point,
hold on, Mustafa, go.
But here's the problem, and we've got to make sure that we do a better job. Monique talked earlier about us getting messaging out there also. The Biden-Harris administration has done more for lower wealth white communities than the Trump administration ever even can conceptualize.
Right. I know.
Yes.
Exactly.
But
to Greg's point
the
about
problem,
does this matter? Vice presidential debates don't really matter. But in this moment, when you have millions of people watching, the fact that these things get so many people in that moment, the debate with obviously the vice president and Trump, where she beats him up, and of course that explodes because she did so well.
Right.
This is another moment where millions of people are watching.
And if I could just add,
Roland,
Roland, just let me add this. Just let me add this. So when we had the last debate with Trump and Vice President Harris, that was not a debate for lower wealth white communities. These are two gentlemen who. These are two individuals who actually have roots in those communities. And there are going to be lower wealth white communities who are looking for them to say something about how you're going to make my life better. So there was this opportunity that existed. Governor Walz, based upon what the Biden-Harris administration has done, had a huge amount of opportunity to be able to not just talk to them in a general way, but here's the 1, 2, 3s of how your life has been able to be better, and here's where we're going to go.
But this is the struggle. What? Gone.
Some of this conversation is a tiny bit delusional. I'm gonna tell you why. Americans, half of this country is interested in who's stronger, who seems stronger, the perception of strength. There are so many people in this country voting for a man who can barely articulate, finish a sentence, tell the truth, has 34 felonies and adjudicated sexual assault. They think he is strong. Let me be very clear. When we say that democracy is on the line, that is not just a talking point. Democracy is on the line because it has been retreating around the world for a few decades now. Okay? That is a point that I really need people to really understand. So I don't think there would have been one American who would not have been okay if Governor Walz, Coach Walz wouldn't have mollywopped Vance. They would have slept fine tonight, honey, if he would have completely mollywopped them. That's fine if we want to talk about policy. I think policy is great. But a lot of people are voting for a felon because they think he is strong. That's the truth. That's the reality.
But you have to, but in order for us, again, this is where you don't have honest conversations on mainstream network. And I've said this for years. Because this is who America is voting for. Go to my iPad.
That iPad.
That's Ronald Reagan.
That's John Wayne.
I mean, no, I'm saying.
It's John Wayne.
And
let's be real clear. Let's be real clear. John Wayne was one of the most violent racists,
no question,
in American history.
No question.
Okay, so when we talk about again, so America's all about. You have to understand the American ethos, the American state of mind, and everything is we're the best.
Yep.
We're number one.
Yep.
Everybody else ain't shit. God has only blessed us.
It's true.
And it's strength, 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 strength.
Yep. 1,000%.
Americans, white America, would rather lose strong than win, quote, weak. That's literally the state of mind. And so you're right. That's why how Trump does with men. You look at the numbers. Oh, he's strong. He projects strength. He says what he's going. He does what he does what he says. He does what he says he's going to do. Don't matter that it's stupid as hell and it's crazy and it's outlandish. But the other thing that is hard for Democrats to do, and we know Republicans don't want to do it, because we also have to put it out there. 68 to 70% of the total electorate will be white. We have conversations in this country where the president will openly talk about this is what we've done for HBCUs. Trump will talk about his bullshit, fake-ass platinum plan. You're never going to hear politicians talk explicitly about whiteness. Now, there's a way to talk about whiteness. There's a way to talk about it, but they're unwilling to do it. So, for instance, I kept saying to Obama directly, dude, stop going to the suburbs of Virginia and Maryland and Ohio talking about the Affordable Care Act. Go to the brokest, sickest, whitest parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and say, I passed this for y'all. Because y'all are the sickest, you're the brokest. You ain't got to say whitest, but we already know why you actually there. LBJ launched his war on poverty not in the Mississippi Delta, in Appalachia. And so when you look at the Teamsters' decision not to endorse, when you look at this polling data of these union workers, these white people are choosing white nationalism over their economic pocketbooks. But you have to counter that by reminding their ass again, and I keep going back to that great scene in Jungle Fever when Wesley Snipes was quitting and he was like, look at that, mine. And they were like, look at you, mine. You have to say, we did that shit. But I think sometimes they play so nice, they're unwilling to go that hard by saying, let me remind y'all, Obama wouldn't do it. Obama saved Elkhart, Indiana with his first stimulus deal. And they were all voting Republican. He should have went back and say, Elkhart, just let me remind y'all, without my bill, y'all ass is gone. At some point, you have to own your shit. And you gotta look white folks in the eye and say, we made this possible for y'all.
Because then they want to vote for you?
Listen, if you don't own it and you don't explain to folks how they got it, they gonna do what they do. Oh, you're wonderful, you're great. You got to remind white folks how they got some stuff. The same way you remind black folks how they got some stuff. That's been one of the struggles that they have. They don't want to be as overt in confronting white voters about how we saved your asses. Manufacturing, this is where Biden, his ass still president, Biden needs to take his ass to one of these places in Ohio and say, hey, y'all are getting population back because of manufacturing, because of the CHIPS bill, because of what we did. We brought these jobs back. We brought this plant.
For him, I would.
A white man can say.
But a white man gotta say it because he did it.
But Roland, here's the thing about white voters. White voters don't vote on issues. No. And follow me. They vote on permission structure. Mm-hmm. So like here's an example. On the January 6th back and forth, J.D. Vance said, well, basically he said January 6th wasn't as bad as you Democrats are trying to make it seem, because on January 20th, there was a transition in power, right? J.D. Vance will also say something along the lines, oh, climate change, global warming, no, that's not a thing. We still get winter, it still gets cold, right? So these are right. He's talking about the weird science. So these are people where they need a permission structure. So the strongest thing that I think that Walz could have done tonight, the strongest thing he could have done tonight when he said, will this man stand up for Trump when Trump goes too far? Mm-hmm. He was creating a permission structure for white people to say, hey, maybe we don't want to vote for this ticket. Because at least with Mike Pence, we knew if it got too bad, he was going to not go with it.
Mm-hmm. And so it's floating that online right now.
So white people, you have to talk to them the next 35 days about the permission structure. Mm-hmm. If you're going to go back and forth, tit for tat on the issues, that's not what's going to move them.
But white supremacists don't want to have any permission structures in order. Right. That's why they love a candidate like Vance, because he literally said, anything goes.
Well, and
that's the permission structure.
Roland, you were saying that they don't want to talk about whiteness, but when they talk about whiteness, They are saying Americans, because when they say Americans, they're not talking about
us. That's not us.
And I think
or when they say working class.
Working class. When you say Americans to white people, they get a picture of themselves. They do not get a picture of any of us. And I thought, I'm looking at it from, of course, a DEI perspective. He's going about Americans and then migrants. And what people don't get when you talk about how there are these, huge numbers of Cubans who are voting Republican, they don't get, when they talk about migrants, they don't know who is and isn't legal, and they're going to get everybody.
Right.
They're going to get everybody. But he differentiates to me the whiteness by saying Americans. And we know who that is, and we know who that isn't. The rest of us are hyphenated.
They don't want to claim whiteness because it requires them to take responsibility.
And they're not going to do that, but they have their codes. And so when he keeps talking about America, right.
And what I'm saying,
when he says Americans,
first of all,
it's clear to us.
Well, first of all, we know exactly what they're doing. But what I'm saying is, you're from a Democratic standpoint, you're going to have to deal with the reckoning. You can't dance around what is now clear. To Lauren's point, it used to be called dog whistling. They ain't whistling shit now. Right. They are yelling it. It's very clear. And what I'm saying is, you have to now confront that and deal with that. Yep. And so at some point, you're going to have to challenge whiteness. Agreed. At some point, you're going to have to stop the sitting here where you don't want to use certain phrases or whatever. At some point, you're going to have to challenge white conservative.
Just as they do it. Let's look at our American people in this town of Appalachia and what we did here.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, when you start talking about these Midwestern towns, first of all, we got to remember, we're talking about places that are anywhere from 85 to 99% white.
Yes.
And so what you have to do is, and this is why I do think it's important for the Haitian immigrants that came to Springfield. Remind folk, hold up, y'all asses were dying.
Yes.
You were losing population. Yep. You were losing jobs. You were losing homeowners. Your city was dying. Your population had dipped below 50,000, and so these 20,000 Haitian migrants have reinvigorated this town. And what you do is you use the white folks who are telling you that against them. You say again, because here's what these white folks want. What these white folks want is they want their white enclaves to remain white.
Right. Yes.
But they don't want to die.
Right.
Now the problem is, what's happening is, immigrants, whether they are Haitian, whether they are Venezuelan, whether they are Mexican, they sitting there saying, we going where the jobs are.
Right. Well, watch this. Whether they are Somalis in Minnesota, was Walz's reticence? Because that occurred to me. I'm like, you should have said in my state. Mm-hmm. I got forget 20% of the fresh water. You got them Somalis in it.
Right.
Was this part of what you're saying, Ray? I will not challenge whiteness.
No. Tonight was all about how do I talk to? Because you got to remember, okay. Trump made serious inroads in Minnesota in 2016, 2020. Right. Because Minnesota is looking like Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Okay, where you have blue urban centers and the rest of the damn state look like Alabama. That's true. Okay, same thing in Michigan. Michigan ain't no blue state. Right. Michigan got blue cities that dominate the state. That's right. But the rest of that state look like Alabama. And so what you're dealing with is, tonight was all about, I need to talk to, in my own way, the white folks in Pennsylvania, not Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, the white folks in Georgia, not Atlanta, not South Fulton, I ain't talking to them. Let me talk to Wisconsin, except Milwaukee. Let me talk to Michigan. I ain't talking about Detroit, Lansing, and Flint. That's who I'm talking to, and that's what it was. But the only way, because again, we look at the data, where Vice President Kamala Harris is with white voters, because my biggest concern about Biden not running was, could she hold his white coalition? I just think that Democrats are going to have a reckoning with whiteness. And they can try to dance and be cute with it.
Nuance on policy is not going to get it. Most people can hold about 2 to 3 talking points in their head at any given time. Maybe it's what I do and where I sit, and I see the world very differently. I submit to that. As a national security professional, let me tell you something. My worldview changed drastically from being an academic to when I switched to being a policy practitioner in national security. My worldview completely changed. And the reality of that worldview is that people tend to think and hold 2 to 3 talking points in their head, and they believe those things. It's almost like a theology. It's almost like a religion. That's what you have to attack. That's what you have to go after. It's a reason why a lot of people who weren't looking at Vice President Harris one way, but after the debate, they were like, oh, okay, because she dog-walked Trump. Period. She dog-walked him. But my point is, Monique, Walz had to put Vance to bed. He had to put those lies to bed. He had to bury the slickness. He had to go after the 2 to 3 talking points that people have burrowed in their heads that aren't true. That's what I'm saying. And I think he has.
In that he did that. Like, what we think would bury it, and some of it for us is performative, some of it is preference, in terms of the way that people watch debates. I've been watching and teaching debate a lifetime, and when you look at juries,
not my cousins on the bayou,
the reason why I always say, I mean, and they don't matter for this at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not who this is for. But it should be. But when we're looking at undecided voters, I'm looking at 3 different polls coming in now where 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 6 say Tim Walz won the debate, where they say slickness doesn't win, where they're saying that his lies were too big, so much so that they were unconvincing. Where they're
on
saying
CNN, an
January
undecided
6th.
Michigan voter on CNN says he chose to vote for Kamala Harris tonight after J.D. Vance's damning answer on January 6th stuck with him. I don't think I can trust someone with my vote if they're not going to respect it. Go ahead.
I still stand by my
NBC News just polled their focus group of 6 undecided voters in Pennsylvania who won the debate. 5 of 6 said Tim Walz won. So the people who needed issues, I agree with you, it's not the same amount of people, but the women issues kind of led the day on that. But the people who, as I said at the beginning, are like, I don't trust him. It is coming across for them because the lead of the ticket did her job, but what he did, at least from the way that things are coming in now, and then even on the reporting side of things, what they're saying, and Kamala HQ is repeating some of it, where he refused to answer about the legitimacy of the election. That was a big deal for a lot of people.
But here's the other deal. Here's a CBS News stat poll. Go to my iPad. This is why Vance 42, Walz 41, tied 17%. At the end of the day,
fantastic.
At the end of the day, you're voting for top of the ticket. So, like I say, with everything that happened, did Vance wound? No. Did Walz wound? No. Were the moments there? Absolutely yes. Were they speaking to the base? Yes. It still comes down to the next 35 days. It's Trump and Kamala Harris. That's what it comes down to. So I'm going to shift this conversation right now, and that is in these final 15 minutes. What next? What happens next?
I think somebody spoke about it earlier. It has to be that high level of visibility. Vice President Harris was large. So is you then, Roland. But we know that we know that VP Harris.
If it was you, I would have said it was no.
Yeah, it was VP Harris was missing for the first third of her announcement. Then we have Vance that's on TV every single day. I don't think the Democratic Party is doing enough right now. If they want visibility amongst young people, they have to do more. I'm interested to see how this HBCU tour is going to go, but we're going to need more. There's going to need more to put them over the line. Right now, I'm not confident enough that they're getting the visibility, and we know that the Trump campaign is going to come out viciously swinging. They're excellent at putting out salacious rhetoric. They're excellent at making people feel extremely fearful and xenophobic. And so we're going to have to figure out ways to combat that at a high level. And right now, I'm not confident that we're doing so.
A big issue, the hurricane has greatly impacted North Carolina and Georgia. And so that's going to be a lot different when it comes to campaigning. And so a lot of the focus is really going to be, frankly, on Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, really locking those down. I just think with roads still having an issue, the last thing people are going to be caring about is the election as they're trying to sit here and get themselves together, again, especially in the western part. But if you look at the eastern part of North Carolina, frankly, if they're not as impacted by this, you got to go campaign there. Mustafa, what do you see over the next 35 days?
I think you have to continue to make sure people understand the story about the jobs that you've created. When I'm out there talking to folks that care about jobs, that care about health care, and of course, the people I work with, they care about the environment and what's going on with climate. So I think you've got to figure out a way to stay in front of those issues, and I think it'll help you to get some of the traction that you need. And of course, I wouldn't be the person I am of the movement that I come from if I didn't also say that you've got to do a better job with the black vote. And I think that there are opportunities to do that, but I think you have to speak directly to what the particular needs are of both black men and black women.
Rebecca.
Next 35 days, or we're approaching midnight, so the next 34 days. I know the campaign has done some extensive polling. They know who their strongest, likeliest voters are. They need to double down and spend all their money in turning out those people. Tonight was, in my opinion, was about white voters. We know just off the top, 3 out of 4 white men will never vote for the Democrat on the ticket. That's, you know, it's been that way since LBJ. So at this point, if the campaign is spending all their time for the 25% of white men they think they could get, if the campaign's spending time for about the, 48 to possibly 51.5% of white women that they think they could get, cool, but you better get your numbers of black people above what Obama numbers were, because we're in a different world than where Obama was. Obama had a different path. This campaign doesn't have that path. This campaign does not have Biden in 2020 path either. And so based upon that, I'm sure the campaign, they have their internal numbers. Do your job, turn out those people that your internal numbers are telling you that's going to be strongest for you. You have to maximize those numbers.
Randy.
You have to get people to the polls. I think that most people know these candidates are so different that most people know where they're voting. I'm shocked at the people who say that they're undecided, but those who say that they are for this ticket, they are for the Harris-Walz ticket, they need to get them there. Ensure that they vote. I would push on getting people to get out and vote. Even though that Republicans have passed many laws and try to make it difficult for us, ensure that you are registered correctly and get your butt there and vote, and early vote. You know, making it that people don't just vote with their mouths, because everyone now can go and have an opinion and be on social media, but actually go and cast your ballot. That's what I would focus on, and to do that, they have to show that these issues are relevant to us and critical and are life-changing for us.
Nola.
You know, I'm going to refer to the National Security Action Poll that came out a week and a half ago that talked about 56% of Americans favor, 56% of Americans in 7 battleground states favor supporting Ukraine over not supporting Ukraine. I think that there needs to be some sort of decisive foreign policy decision that distinguishes VP from the prior policy and how we're handling Israel, how we're engaging. I think people are really wanting that. Is it going to be the same policy? Is it going to be a different policy? What is it going to be?
But how,
and also,
but how does she do that as sitting vice president when he's still the president? You can't have 2 presidents at one time. How does she do it?
I agree with you. What I'm saying is you can still talk about what your future vision is as vice president, and that's all that a lot of people are asking for.
But how can you talk about your future vision as vice president if what you are going to do is going to be different from him? The moment you do that, all hell's going to break loose.
I hear what you're saying. I'm saying what people are asking for.
No. I know what they're asking for. What they're asking for is irrelevant. I mean, it can't happen. I mean, the box that she's in, she's not a United States senator. She's not a governor. If that was the case, what they're saying makes sense. But because she is the sitting vice president,
I don't disagree with you.
Well, but again, but do those folks understand that?
No, they don't.
Okay, well, they don't understand that. I mean, I don't know what the hell. She literally can't. And look, it's a bunch of black activists and others saying the same thing. The fact of the matter is, you only got one president at one time.
Right. She signaled before. If there needs to be a policy change about Israel, we'll do it. And then that got kiboshed really quickly. My point is, and regarding Ukraine, there needs to be some sort of diplomatic win. There needs to be something that American people can say, okay, I understand why we're there in Ukraine. A lot of Americans are asking, why are we doing this? Why are we still doing this? Because the messaging is resonating. What benefit are Americans getting from us being in Ukraine? And they're pointing to things like inflation. They're pointing to things like high gas prices. Not that they have that they're directly connected, but these messages, what I'm saying, are landing with the American people. So while I agree with you, she can't necessarily say this is what my foreign policy is going to be on Israel. It's going to diverge from POTUS. There has to be some sort of signals regarding foreign policy and national security that that makes Americans who are on the fence feel better about what the future will be.
Unfortunately, we talked about it earlier. A lot of Americans ain't smart. And the fact of the matter is, for all these people who are complaining about the amount of money we're spending on Ukraine, the money ain't going to Ukraine when 75% are going to American military contractors. Right. What they also don't understand is if Russia takes control of Ukraine,
We're talking about winning the election, right? I'm simply saying.
No. What I'm saying is, for the people out there, and some of them could be watching and listening, they don't understand that because of NATO, we have to defend NATO countries. It's actually saving us American lives and money supporting Ukraine the way we are versus sending being involved in a military conflict.
About that for 2 years.
No, I got you. I'm just saying. I'm saying, unfortunately,
needs to be some sort of, even if it's a perceived win. What's next? There needs to be some sort of foreign policy W.
Here's the whole deal.
That's all I'm saying.
So the mission accomplished banner?
Ain't
not that.
First of all,
let's not about to lie.
Let's be real clear. Israel's attack against Hezbollah, them going into Lebanon, and it was happening now in Iran. There's not going to be a foreign policy within the next 35 days. If you're
preaching to the choir, honey.
No. I'm not speaking and talking. I'm talking to people who are watching. Okay. And what I'm trying to explain, there ain't gonna be no foreign policy win. And here's the deal. And I don't think there are a lot of people who are going to be voting on foreign policy.
But that's not what the polls are showing. Let me tell you something. People care about what's happening in Ukraine. And the number 3 thing that they care about is democracy. And democracy's wrapped up in all of this.
I got that. But the number one thing that they also are going to be talking about is the economy. And to Mustafa's point, what you have to do is explain to people what you did, how you saved it, how we remind people. And this is where, again, what Trump and Vance are doing, Eugene, they're trying to get everybody to go back to 17, 18, 19. Nope. You got to bring everybody back to 20, 21, 22 and say, y'all remember what your life was like? Do you remember when you were scared to death to go to a grocery store? You were scared to die because of COVID? You were scared. Listen, I get a lot of times we talk about how to be rosy, how to be positive. People also respond to fear. They respond to politics, and that's just a reality.
The reason you see more negative as to positive acts, people respond to fear more than positivity when it comes to political and voting. But back to the Ukraine and foreign policy, you can't tie that to the economy. Inflation's coming down. If Russia takes over Ukraine, inflation skyrockets. Ukraine is number 3 grain producer in the world. I think number 7 ore producer in the world, and one of the top lithium producers in the world. You know what that translates to? That translates to more expensive iPhones and electronic products. That translates to more expensive energy. That translates to more expensive food, more expensive bread, more expensive wheat. So yeah, if you like what we dealt with inflation in the last couple of years post-Trump, let Putin take over Ukraine, and yeah, you can spend more of your hard-earned American dollars than you would ever in war.
Europe will be hit hardest.
Yeah. Great.
Randy, I agree with you, and we have to get this vote out. Get out to vote. I would encourage everybody, if you missed the first hour of this conversation, y'all walking through all of the internal politics, go back and look at that, because these resources have to be put into now. I've been saying to people, I'm saying to my students in particular, let's work as hard as we can to render November the 5th irrelevant. Bank the shit out of the vote. In other words, so that by the time the 5th comes, these hillbillies show up, try to stop you from voting. And where's everybody? Oh man, I voted 2 weeks ago. And if the campaign, I remember when Obama, was it 08 maybe, having the big rallies, and then let's go vote right now. I mean, that kind of thing. With the kind of energy that's being generated by this campaign, you fill up a stadium full of people in Carolina, okay, we're leaving. They're going to tell you what to do between now and tomorrow, but it's 2 p.m. I think, what time the polls close? 5? Okay, let's see how many we can go over. In other words, do that. The foreign policy thing, you're right. I mean, it's not going to be a policy change. We know that, and you know better than any of us. you know, the biggest non-American voter who is trying to influence this election is the murderer, the mass murderer sitting in Tel Aviv, Bibi Netanyahu. And this is by no means accidental. On foreign policy, Democrats and Republicans pretty much the same, right? Israel's the 51st state. That is the American presence in the region. They're both going to back them. They just sent troops. Lloyd Austin run them on TV. They sent troops into the area. I don't care whether it's Yemen. I don't care whether it's Lebanon. I mean, Bibi has got a ground force invasion. Iran and throwing some missiles over there. And before you know it, our troops, I say our troops, the troops in the country that I came out of my mother's womb in, because I don't claim none of that shit, might be on the ground, and everything could change. That's why banking this vote is going to be so important. Finally, you know, today's the 1st of October, in addition to Jimmy Carter's 100th birthday, who said this was going to be a problem in the Middle East. Ta-Nehisi Coates' new book just came out, The Message. And of course, Ta-Nehisi writes about Palestine, but he's linking it to us. And he said, you know, I'm a descendant of people of Jim Crow. When I was over there, I'm saying to myself, if this were a rebellion for Nat Turner, what side would we have been on? It's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable to raise that, but this issue might become bigger to black people as that message is being on, because these people are circling the wagons. So I would say, yeah, let's just get this vote out.
Lauren?
You know, I talked to a lot of people who knock doors in Virginia. And I mean, Roland, I think you're right. People are not that smart. They're not that bright about, you know, foreign policy. But what they do understand is when they read in the paper that $10 billion and $90 billion of their tax money is going overseas. Now, whether it's going to the defense contractors or to the country, doesn't really matter to them. They want to know, where's that money going and how
it's the talking point.
And it might not be something as easy to explain as what you explained about Ukraine foreign policy. Even though you're correct, I think it's hard to do that. And so when you say a foreign policy, when I think people just want an explanation as to where the money's going. And so there's that. I don't know that she can do that in 34 days. Even though we have an outgoing lame duck president, I just don't know that she can do that. The other thing is, I think the Democrats have to get real serious. I think they are very serious about rapid response and October surprises. The other thing they got to get real serious about, of course, is election protection and their lawyers, because these people are going to try to steal this election.
That's right.
I don't think there's any, you know, that's not news to anybody. I'm sure they're in the background talking about exactly that. Every time I go to some summit someplace, that there's some person standing up there talking about election protection. So I don't think that's a thing, but that's a serious thing that's going to happen. And you can see that Donald Trump is ramping up the rhetoric. He's setting the table for it's going to get stolen, it's going to get stolen, it's going to get stolen. He's an inciter. He's good at incitement.
That's right.
And he did the exact same thing before Jan 6. And we're going to see it again. And I think we're going to see it worse. So what's next is that the vice president's team and obviously Governor Walz have to be very careful in the next 34 days, because really anything can happen. You can just feel the tension building in the same way I felt the tension building, and I think we all did in, you know, in December and then going into January before the certification.
Monique?
So what I would hope we would do is for every place that any person in this room or outside of this room watching, anytime you are tempted to say they, switch it to we. Anytime it's she, switch it to me. Because then we will truly understand the stakes. Thank you, Dr. Gregg. We, right? We, your students, all of us, the things that we need to do. We are too close to the end of this for any of this to be objective, for any of it to be about the way that they should do things while we sit back and pontificate. It's over. If there are doors to be knocked, knock them. If it's phone banking, let's all take a turn. If it's giving, some of us are blessed with more. Please write your checks and do it to all the PACs. I'm so sick of those PACs. I got to do the Howard PAC, I got to do the Women PAC. I'm like, if they send me one more email, I swear before God, I just got me a little bit of money and got these debts paid. I'm trying to pay my debts, right. Jesus. But you give, right? You do that. See, don't do that. One of the benefactors of my business enterprises. I
disagree with you.
Listen, see, this is what I'm saying.
I disagree with you. Keep going on. See, you belaboring like J.D. Vance did. You need to keep moving. You need to keep moving like J.D. Don't screw it up.
They is we, she is me. We will get out the vote. We will knock doors. We will put signs like the old days. If we have campaign connections, we'll use them to help with messaging. We will use our platforms in order to spread the word. We will go to our strengths. So if it's foreign policy or if it's legal, you're right, there's an attack coming. The campaign, I would like you to know, has spent millions already preparing for the legal battles. But if you have a JD in any place in this here country, take your re-up class for legal monitoring, get your orange shirt, and get on the damn battlefield. Not on the one day of election. Do it for the pre-voting. Do it for know where the voting precincts are. If you just need to figure out where your vote is, iwillvote.com. If you know people who are not online, share with them the information. Guys, this ain't no drill.
Yeah. All persons on
It's not. It's all of us. And if we say that everybody matters, then everybody. We have the power, right? Let me get real scriptural, and then I'm done.
Yes.
After this, the Holy Ghost shall come, right, and give you power, and then you're witnesses. You get power, and then you're witnesses.
Why are you laughing, Rebecca?
So what I am saying.
You okay, Rebecca? You okay, Rebecca?
That's the saying about Israel.
Because this is for black folks, right? So the black folks understand what it means to evangelize. I'm asking you to evangelize your vote. You open up your mouth for everything else. You know what's going on all the shows. You know what Auntie and them did. Did you tell? Okay, Catholics understand the full scope of the Bible. I was raised Catholic, so was he. You're not disqualified.
Yeah, but Catholics need to miss a lit.
Oh my God! It's a real Bible.
Come on now, you know the Catholics need to miss a lit. Don't even try.
Take your Nicene Creed and share that in your community. That's all I got.
All right, yeah, okay. Yeah, amen, gotcha. Pass the plate to pay off them debts. All right, so...
is this white Jesus or black Jesus?
Black Jesus,
no, there's only one Jesus.
But it don't matter.
Right. There's only one Jesus on this. There's only one Jesus, and he had an afro. He had an afro with bronze feet. Chris Toller, Black Voter Project, posted this here. Put on my iPad. He said, if these polls are any indication of black voters, the Harris is looking good with record high margins. Georgia 83-7, North Carolina 90-2. However, she's also down big with whites in Georgia, meaning she needs to be on the ground, and Robinson may be helping in North Carolina. He posted that. He also talked about, again, in terms of when you look at the election. So when you look at the next 35 days, it's coming down to really, just going back to that blue wall, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. And then they still have a very strong shot in North Carolina. They have to me, a lesser shot in Georgia. Georgia is still going to be very difficult because Brian Kemp's machine is very aggressive. One of the things that I want to see from the Harris-Walz campaign, and I mentioned beforehand, is every day, there's got to be major events. How are you deploying your assets? How are you, okay, Barack Obama, okay, Michelle Obama.
That's right.
All right, okay, enough with the tweeting. I need to see you on the road.
Right.
Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. No.
They like Slick Billy?
If you listen,
I don't care. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you.
I went to Penn State University. I was there in 08. Let me tell you something. I was at Penn State during the 08 election. All right. I was in Penn State during the 08 election. All right. And in a 3-day time span, right, the McCain campaign deployed Sarah Palin and Hank Williams Jr. All right, in one place, right. Bill Clinton was there 2 days later with the crowd 4 times the size. And we're talking Penn State is in Center County, which is literally middle of Pennsylvania, the heart of Pennsylvania.
Happy Valley.
That's what you need. At the end of the day, again, it comes down to margins. And here's the reality. Because of the Dobbs decision, okay, Hillary Clinton is far more popular than a lot of people because she could say, I tried to tell y'all I was right. Remember, Trump got 52% of the white female vote in 2016, 53% in 2020. If they peel off 3% of the white female vote, election's over. That's all you gotta do.
She
so
couldn't carry her own.
no. Yes, you do deploy. Hold on, one second. You deploy Hillary. You can't. First of all, you can't look at the 2016 race in the same way you look at 2024 because the reality is in 2024 it's a whole bunch of white women going, shit, she was right. And so the bottom line is I don't need Hillary Clinton to get me 100,000 votes. I need Hillary Clinton to get me 8,000 to 10,000 votes.
In a specific area.
There you go, in a very specific area. And so where do you use her? You maximize her in suburban areas. If you're talking about Philadelphia, you don't send her out. You don't send her to the same place you send Bill in Pennsylvania. You send her to the suburbs of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh to drive those numbers up. That's how you use her. But what I'm saying is, you have to have, those things have to be happening. The Democrats have a far deeper bench. You got to pull together, you got to say Big Gretch, you got to say Shapiro, you got to say to your governors, yo, it's game time.
Even some of the Republicans.
We got to be sitting here. We got to be sitting here going hard. Then you got to say, okay, all you entertainers, I appreciate the post on social media.
Taylor Swift got to get in the field.
I need your ass out in the field. Stevie Wonder's going to be doing a 9 or 10 city tour. Stevie Wonder's going to be doing a tour, and to the point where normally the average ticket price for his concerts are $300 to $500. The highest ticket price is going to be $125.
Yeah, next week.
And so he's doing that in nine different cities, and then going to Midwestern states. If you're the Harris Walz campaign, what is your major massive ground game in Milwaukee? 50,000 fewer people voted in 2022 from 2020. If they vote, then Mandela Barnes, the United States Senator. And so you got to be driving on the ground. And what you got to be, and so I know how all these different PACs work or whatever the hell. This is where Jamie Harrison, and this is where all these other major Dems, and yes, where the fuck are you, George Clooney? Where are you, Nancy Pelosi? Where are you folks who are calling for an open convention? This is where all y'all should say to all these PACs. You're sitting your asses on $400 million, deploy that shit on the ground. They should be flooding people, massive door knocking every single weekend between now and Election Day in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in North Carolina, in Michigan, because it's all about turnout. If you drive up the margins, it's game over. Obama won with 39% of the white vote because he over-indexed among African Americans. Go to North Carolina and remind black folks there, y'all did it before, y'all can do it again. But you got to go to those places. You got to go to Princeville. You got to go to Elizabeth City. You got to be able to go to those places. Don't just go to North Carolina A&T. You got to go to the eastern portion of the state as well, the Black Belt in North Carolina. And so the election is there. And you got to say to folks on your side, white folk are going to turn out. The Confederate flag waving, Trump loving people are going to turn out. And the only way you beat them is if you show up more than they do.
No question.
And the Black Belt in Louisiana is under attack too.
Black Belt in Louisiana under attack. But let me just go ahead and say it. Black people in Louisiana are going to get off their asses and get organized because, frankly, they've been sitting on their asses for far too long because they allowed Jeff Landry to take over by not voting. You had a black man who's on the Democratic side for governor, and they couldn't even get him the top two and couldn't even get to a runoff because folk were just sitting here. And I get the whole deal. They're not engaged or whatever, but it's ridiculous. And they also got to vote because you got a congressional seat there, an opportunity district. The black folks in Alabama, it's not a black district, it's an opportunity district. So they got to maximize for figures in Alabama as well. Plus, you also got, Texas is nice, but it'll also be nice if Colin Allred would actually, I'm aware Texas has the most black voters in it.
Anyway.
I understand that. But it would be nice if Congressman Colin Allred would actually show up where black people are and then not, and actually, you're right. Okay, and also, Monique. No, Monique. No, wait a damn minute. Don't let me pull some receipts out.
We're not Fox.
No, I know we're not Fox, but you know who I am? A black man who's texted his ass since March 5th on 6 different occasions, and he can't even respond.
But how does that help?
It helps if your ass want to be the next. If you want to be the next, easy, because you know what? It's a lot more black people know me than know Colin Allred.
Then can you tell him not to vote for Ted Cruz instead of pissing him off?
Colin Allred. No.
Can we change the conversation?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not changing the conversation. What I'm saying is, if you're gonna be a goddamn black candidate, fucking talk to black people.
I agree.
That's what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is, you can't sit here and try to be United States Senator in Texas. I know what the hell the polls show. But guess what? Being up a point in Texas don't mean shit when it comes to voting. Do I want to win? I want to win, but you got to win by talking to black people too.
Let's talk about DNC putting money everywhere. First time ever. We haven't talked about that yet. I think that's great.
don't
about
get that
DNC
he
putting
needs
money
to win
everywhere,
by
all
us
over the
putting
country.
him
That's the
down.
first time ever. What do you think about that?
I mean, listen. First of all, guys, y'all mics are still on. First of all, the DC is trying to expand the map. Okay, Tester's down 6 points in Montana, so they got to put money in the Grayson, Texas, but also in Florida. Okay, they folks have been right now Florida, so you got to do that. Shares Brown up in Ohio, you're fine in Arizona, you're fine in Nevada. You know you're going to lose West Virginia, so that's happening. But the other thing is this here: how do you also deal with the broadening map? You got to realize you got Supreme Court races in Ohio, Supreme Court races in Florida, Supreme Court races in Texas, and so if you care about reproductive rights, guess that's what 3 places where those conservative judges actually rule against. So those Supreme Court races also matter. So yeah, smart moves there by the DNC to actually push that money out. Yes. So I just think that again, when we start talking about this whole election, candidates can't expect people to go hard for them if they don't go hard for people. And so you've got to be putting money into black-owned media. You got to be putting resources on the ground because there are voter groups that are starving and they're waiting to get activated. And what these candidates and campaigns can't do is expect black people to be sharecroppers and work for free doing door knocking when you're paying white staff. And they actually have the money. And they're sitting on millions of dollars right now.
Listen, there's some PACs out there paying literally people $120 to do a packet of 40 doors. Literally, essentially $120 for an hour and a half worth of door knocking. So, I mean, I agree 100%. I tell campaigns all the time, I'm at the point where you would not catch me to volunteer. You want my time, want my effort, you got to pay me for it. And I agree 100% with you. If these campaigns want black voters, if they want black voters to turn out and turn out other black voters, pay them. You got the money. $400 million is enough to win a lot of congressional seats. A lot of congressional seats.
But again, though, what these strategists are going to have to understand is the micro-targeting of black people is real. You're not going to do the old model. And so that means you're going to have to go talk to different sets of black people in much different ways. And there's a black economic conversation that they don't care about nothing else. There's a black social conversation. There's a black civil rights conversation. There's a black criminal justice conversation, and it differs among groups. And so they're just uneasy about how the hell they even do all of that. And so they got to understand that's what it is. And there is a black college educated conversation that is different from black high school diploma conversation. That's just a fact. Ain't no different from white folks. You're right. And so they're just uncomfortable with the fact that we keep saying not monolithic. That shit is real. You now have to micro-target in a different way.
The same way, but it's no different the same way to micro-target any other demo.
Right, same thing. And so, and again, their problem is they don't want to do that because that's going to require a larger investment than they normally have done. And they're trying to hold the line because they know once you take that up, that becomes the new floor. And it's like, damn. And they're trying to hold that line. So I mean.
It's crazy. It's almost a guaranteed vote. The Texas black vote is almost a guaranteed black vote 9 times out of 10. And so for Allred to act like he's going to blow up that community, but when they do turn out, it's 90% for the Democratic Party.
That has been red.
So you go after white voters, you go after expensive white voters that are less likely to show up?
Disagreeing with the strategy.
First of all, Texas has also changed.
Texas is a blue state.
I got you, because Texas has also changed because, again, when you look at the policies, economic policies, but also the mistake that Democrats keep making is they think that you can only win with your large blue counties. No, you can't allow them to run up 80-20 margins in rural counties. Remember, it's 254 counties in Texas. Democrats only have 81 county parties. That's 160 counties. There's no county party. So what has happened is Democrats fly into Texas because Democrats fly into Texas, raise millions of dollars, and then they leave. You have to fund the infrastructure. And that's the whole deal. So you're not going to win a state unless you fund the infrastructure.
But there are organizations like Black Voters Matter that have been in Texas year-round and increasing their investment year after year.
And the
Democrats are infusing money into that organization,
Right.
and we are seeing fruit.
Yes.
No, it is. But there is definitely
Right.
work.
So what you're dealing with? So what you're now dealing with? You're now dealing with this is where infrastructure comes in. The bottom line is the next 35 days. Listen, you can't. Can you blanket everywhere? No. But you do have to be very strategic in where you go. And the reality is this here, we've always talked about it. You can keep trying to kill yourself to get that white woman who's a Republican. And you can try to get yourself to try to get more of those white men. Or you can look at, okay, I could spend less time and less money going after my likely voters who've been sitting on elections. And who are they? Black people.
No question.
Who are they? Latino people. And who are they? Young people.
Yep, right.
It's right there in the data. And so the money needs to be there. And so they should be flooding these states with resources. And Democrats in D.C. should be calling out these PACs and saying, don't look up on November 6th and your asses are sitting on $60, $80 million and you just spend it. The whole point is to actually spend the goddamn money that you actually raised.
Supposed to be the point.
All right, folks. Appreciate everybody being with us. Tomorrow, I'm broadcasting live from Alabama State. I'm giving the homecoming speech. We talked about voting. They sent me some notes. They were like, okay, you know, we nonpartisan. Don't. And I'm just like, if y'all know I'm gonna say what I need to say. So I will be at again Alabama State. I'll broadcast from there tomorrow. I'll speak at 11 a.m. On Thursday. I think Greg is sitting in for me on Thursday because I'm gonna be flying back. I think. Also, lots of what we'll be talking about tomorrow. We'll talk more about the DOJ, what happened with their report about the unconstitutional practices in Georgia prisons. We show some of that at the top of the show. We'll talk about that. Also, yesterday, of course, we celebrated the life of Dikembe Mutombo. Tomorrow, we'll talk about the passing of America's first black daddy. James Evans, known as John Amos. Before that was Bill Cosby, everybody knew he was James Evans from Good Times.
No question.
And so we'll talk about that as well. So shout out to everybody who's been with us. Hope y'all enjoyed our conversation. Be sure to support the work that we do. Y'all know there's no other black-owned media outlet that did this tonight. No. The others, I don't know what they did, but trust me, it wasn't like this. And second of all, y'all saw more black people tonight than you have seen on MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News. Hell, I throw in News Nation, Newsmax on combined. Hell, you ain't gonna see this many black people for the rest of the week on all those networks combined. And so when y'all support this show, y'all are able to support the work that we do. And so be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars matter. We're still working through all this drama with Cash App. They're really getting on my damn nerves. So support us with PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo's RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. All y'all comment on YouTube, hit the like button as well. We're sitting at about 6,600 likes. Y'all slow as hell. It's born about 18,000 y'all on right now. Come on, hit the damn button. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. You heard us talk about whiteness. I laid all out my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. And they are. Get it at Ben Bella Books, IndieBound, Target. You can also get it at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and get the audio version. Yes, I read it on Kindle as well. I'm sorry, on Audible as well. All right, folks. I will see y'all tomorrow. Keep it real, keep it black. Y'all know how we end the show.